which basically means to learn. And we all are here to learn something new. And as you all know that our topic is art of delivering a speech. And it's very important to know this. Why it's important? Because being in college, being with my friends, with my peers group, I have noticed, and same goes with my teacher, that today our students have such a good thoughts, such a developed thoughts, a good content, enough knowledge, but they are lacking in. They're lacking in expressing that how to deliver it in front of people, in front of their teachers, or at particular stage, isn't it? This happens with you also, you my dear friends. So today we are here to bridge that gap. So first of all, moving ahead, I really want to thank Cultural Committee of Swami Shraddhanand College, because of whose guidance we are here organizing this beautiful event, an auspicious event. And I really want to thank to our most reverend Dr. Praveen Garg sir, who guided us throughout the event, even before starting us, and motivated us.
Sir has joined.
Thank you. And Praveen Garg sir has really motivated us throughout the event and inspired us that you should organize such events on regular basis. So I think I have introduced him at the right moment. So, sir, it's really a pleasure to have you. It's really a pleasure whenever I get in contact with you. You really you have a positive aura. You always radiate positivity from you. And, sir, I would really request you to please grace the moment by sharing words of wisdom. It will be great to hear you. Thank you, sir. Stage is all yours.
Professor Garg, over to you. Please unmute yourself, sir.
So I would just like to add one more line, that even before we started the event, so we had a chit chat or meeting with principal sir, and he was so welcoming, he was so motivating that it filled us with the energy to do more, energy to do out of the box, and whatever we can do, even in this online method. So sir, it's all because of your support and guidance that we all are here. So I would like you to please unmute yourself and share the words of wisdom. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil ji. It's a kind pleasure that we are again going to start our cultural activity under the dynamic leadership of Shiva Madam, Jessica ji, and of course, our dynamic teacher, all-rounder, Archana Madam ji. So this is more important that firstly, this our program has started, and our new teachers has also taken the initiative for the enrichment of cultural activities in our college. So little busy I am for today's session. So my best wishes are with you that not only this one, but in the coming months, the same kind of auditions will also take place for the first year students. So with these words, I again thanks you all, Sahil ji, who organized these events, and Jessica Madam along with Shiva Madam, who are inspirations behind this program. Thank you. Thank you, Madam. Thank you all.
Thank you, sir, for your kind words and your blessings. And it's really pleasure to hear you. And I really want to congratulate all the team of Swami Shraddhanand College that this is going to be our first event of this session. So I really want to congratulate all. And now I would really want to invite Dr. Shiva Upadhyay, our convener, who supported us throughout the event. And I am sure that she is going to be with us for the future events also. So, ma'am, I really thank you, and I invite you to please come on the podium and also invite our chief speaker for today. That is none other than Coach Natali. Thank you, ma'am.
Thanks, Sahil. On behalf of Cultural Committee, Swami Shraddhanand College, I, Dr. Shiva Upadhyay, extend a warm welcome to our dynamic principal, Professor Garg, today's speaker, and my colleague and dear friends, and students also. The art of public speaking and leadership is vital for everyone, whether it be a working professional, a student, a stay at home parent, or a retiree. With good communication and leadership skills, an individual build up confidence to perform better at their workplace and develop and present ideas more effectively. Public speaking also plays a crucial role in people's day to day life as they become more active in all the spheres. To explain this in an even intricate manner, I find immense pleasure in welcoming Miss Natali with us, who after completing her Master of Business from University of Queensland, Australia, is now a clothing manufacturing manager, a public speaking coach, and a renowned public speaker. Business manager by day, public speaker by night, and on weekends. She has been a Toastmaster for almost 8 years, and through Toastmaster, she found her passion in speaking, educating, and coaching. She enjoys storytelling and believes in progress over perfection. She has won several honorary titles like Toastmasters International District 87 Champion 2021, Wonder Voice 1 International Speech Competition Champion, JCI Asia Pacific Runner-Up Debate Competition, International Speech and Speech Evaluation Contest, and the list goes on. We are we are very grateful to you for your accepting our invitation and marking your presence, madam. Thank you very much. Over to Sahil.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for such a cordial invitation to Miss Natali. And you all must have guessed that how renowned she is. But before that, I just want to share one experience for a minute. When I called Natali, Coach Natali, that we really wants to have you, and I praise her for being such a dynamic speaker. So, do you know what she replied to me? That Sahil, it's all the blessings of God. So when you are such a dynamic and you don't owe it, you just be the devotee at that time. You just devote that it happened because of the blessing of God. Then your success, your demeanor, your personality grows by many fold. So this is this speciality of our chief speaker today, Coach Natali. And with this, I cordially want to invite her on the podium to please come and train us on the public speaking. All eyes on you, Coach Natali. Please unmute yourself. Thank you.
Thank you, Sahil, and also thank you, Dr. Shifa, Dr. Arcana, and also Professor Greg. Thank you for this opportunity that is given to me to share little that I know about public speaking and also the art of delivering a speech. It is such a pleasure and honor for me to be speaking with you all and sharing with you all today. And I believe this happens because of the online meeting and online platform. So I'm really grateful for this opportunity. Just like what Sahil shared earlier, I believe everything has been prepared by God. So maybe our meeting today is also not a coincidence, but also has been planned. And I hope what I share today can be beneficial for you in your journey to develop your confidence, your public speaking skills, and also in any aspects of your life. So a little bit about myself that Sahil and Dr. Shifa has shared. I'm a business manager by day, public speaker by night and weekend. The reason I call myself that is because it's still a part-time job for me, doing the public speaking and also online education, but I thoroughly enjoy it. So if you want to connect with me, you can connect with me through Instagram or LinkedIn. And for any business or collaboration inquiries, you can send me an email. Okay, so let's go back to the topic of today's session. The art of delivering a speech. When Sahil first mentioned about this, I had a thought in my mind. What is art actually? Public speaking is an art, yes, because it is a creative process, but it also involves techniques. So I further try to research, and I found this definition from lumenlearning.com, which I found pretty interesting and relevant. Art is a highly diverse range of human activities engaged in creating visual, auditory, or perform artifacts or artworks that express the author's imaginative or technical skill and are intended to be appreciated for their beauty or emotional power. Art, at its simplest, is a form of communication and means whatever it is intended to mean by the artist. So from this definition, I got like an insight. The insight is art is a combination of imagination and also technical skill, which means that you can get the idea from your imagination, from your knowledge, from your observation, but also requires a technical skill to refine that idea into a creation or an artwork that can express what you want to express to your audience or to people who enjoy your creation. And that's why it's a form of communication. So let me get this framework set first for everyone so we can focus on what we want to focus later on. Public speaking is a skill. It is not a talent. Maybe some of you said, Coach Natali, I cannot speak. It's hard for me to speak. I don't really know. I'm stuttering like this. But let me tell you, I was not like this 5 years ago, 8 years ago. Even when I was similar age with you all, maybe 18, 19, 20 years old. It is not, it didn't come naturally to me, public speaking and also communication skill. But you don't have to have the talent to do public speaking or to do a great presentation. What you need to do is to polish what you have and practice because it is a skill. And in speech presentation or in delivering a speech, it involves a creation of content and also expression through delivery to communicate your message to the audience. So the keyword here is creation of content and expression through delivery to communicate your message to the audience. A lot of people think that art of delivering a speech is all about speaking. But before that, we need to take 1 or 2 steps back and think about what is the content that we want to convey to the audience. Because no matter how good you are at speaking, if your content did not deliver any value, it didn't get through to your audience as well. So remember, public speaking or speech presentation, creation of content, expression through delivery to communicate your message to your audience. So in today's session, I hope we all can learn some techniques, some universal things that we all can apply after the session. We can use our imagination, our knowledge, and our observation to create the content. Just like I think Sahil mentioned, in university, we have a lot of work or a lot of assignments. We also can apply that. Maybe also in debating society, because I remember Prafat is a debating society. Definitely you can use some of this technique. And also we can learn to practice technical skills to structure your content and also deliver it effectively. So there are 2 main part of this presentation. The first one is the content and the second one is the delivery. Okay, let's get started. So for the content, I split it into 3 things. First is speech idea. Some of you might have this concern, but Miss, I don't really know what to say. Or maybe I have so many things to say, I don't really know which one to choose. So the best way to find your ideas is starting from you. What do you know? What is your hobby? What do you observe every day? Those are the things that you can use as a starting point. Or if you like to read news or read books, you can use those learning points from the books or from the news or from the podcast, from journal. And some current affair also might be a good speech idea. For example, I noticed that recently Squid Game has been a major topic not only in social media, but also in some news. It is like a Netflix South Korean movie. So I thought, maybe this is like a good speech idea because it's relevant with what's happening right now. Or the easiest way to get the idea is if you're a student and you get an assignment on certain topic, from the topic you can start to dig deep and get some ideas out of it. One thing that I wanted to share, like I call it Natali's tips, is a lot of people, when they wanted to say, they just focus on what they want to say. For me, as I do more public speaking, I realize what is more important is we know what our audience are interested in. Because whatever that we want to say, if we cannot build connection or engagement with our audience, then everything that we say goes from here and goes out from the other ear. Find out what your audience are interested in. Find out their backgrounds if possible. Find out the purpose of the event that you are invited to. So, for example, in this event, I know that the majority of my audience is students and like young and energetic, has a lot of thirst for learning and knowledge. So I also customize my material to suit my audience. And this is what's more important in my opinion. So you have the idea, but it's very crucial to translate the idea into paper. Mind maps is the most effective way, in my opinion, to make sure that you cover up different angles that you have for your specific topic. So for example, I take this from the internet. So solving global warming, doing something, travel, energy, green power, be a catalyst, plant trees, yada, yada, yada. So the more you do mind map, then you have more ideas to start with. And after that, then you can start to pick which one resonates most and which one that you can use. But always start with mind mapping your ideas. So don't say that, the ideas is really bad. No, I don't think it's wrong. Just pour out everything in the mind map. And after that, then you can start removing thoughts or ideas that are not so relevant compared to others. For that, you can also brainstorm with your friends, your peers. In debate, we have case building, usually 10 to 15 minutes. These are the time where you can also brainstorm with others. And last but not least, make sure you note down all of the points that you have through your idea generation phase in the paper or in your gadget, your laptop, your phone. So you have a preparation for your content, for your structure later. Now, the second part of content is speech purpose. I mentioned this because a lot of people forgot to actually determine the purpose of their speech. It is like trying to drive a car with no certain destination. And in your car, you have a GPS, but you didn't put in the address, a specific address of where you want to go. So make sure that when you prepare a speech or when you prepare a presentation, when you speak to your audience, remember this purpose of your speech or the purpose of your presentation. There are two kinds of purposes. The first one is general purpose. And there are three things that we share to our audience. The first one is to inform. When we want to inform our audience about something, for example, this edu session is, the purpose of this edu session is for me to inform you. What is the characteristic of informative speech? It is a transfer of knowledge from the source to the audience. So from the speaker to the audience, I try to transfer my knowledge on public speaking and also content and delivery to you. So if that is the purpose of your speech or your presentation, to inform your audience about something, then focus more on transferring the knowledge to them. The second one is to persuade. The main difference between information or informative speech and persuasion or persuasive speech is Information or informative speech, you deal a lot with logic and thinking. Persuasion, and later on we learn about inspiration, deal a lot with emotion or with the heart. So when you want to persuade your audience, it's a combination of providing logical arguments, plus you also want to urge them to do something because you have connected with them emotionally. So let me give you an example. If you want to persuade someone to stop smoking, it is a combination of logical facts and also a combination of, trying to get their emotional connection. For example, let's say my dad used to be a smoker, my late father, but then he said to me that when I was born, he decided to stop smoking because it's bad for his health, and also he really want me to grow up without any smokes, because he used to be like a heavy smoker. So two things happened there. First is the logical benefit, the health benefit, and also the second one is the emotional benefit. So persuasion is a part of that, logic and also emotional. Now the third one is inspiration or inspirational speech. If we want to inspire our audience, it's mainly for us. We want to change their mindset. We want to change their perspective. We want them to accept our viewpoint without any obvious or real action. So this is the difference between inspiration and also persuasion. Persuasion, you want to see like real action. Inspiration, mostly changing mindset or changing perspective. You want to touch their hearts. That's the main emphasis on inspirational speech. So for example, if you want to share a speech or a presentation about showing kindness, that you can use to inspire people to choose kindness over hate or love over hate, things like that. Now, the specific purpose is your message. Information, persuasion, inspiration, those are like the general purpose. What's more important is you know exactly the specific purpose of your speech, because that is what you want to transfer to your audience. For example, raising the awareness of mental health for young Indians. So that could be your specific purpose. Persuading the audience to enroll in your college, inspiring the audience to support breast cancer survivor. This are all under the purpose of your speech. What is the message that you want to deliver to your audience and you want them to remember? Always have that specific purpose in your speech and your presentation. And this also can be applied to when you want to do pitching. For example, you build a startup and you need to do like a 2-minute pitch. This is very crucial because it's very short. You can't present everything. Not all points will be remembered by the investor. So you just want to keep it simple and make sure that your message resonates with them and they can remember it. Last but not least, in the content is speech structure. And I think this is the most important thing. I mentioned here 6 ways to structure your speech. And I just share with you all so you can use it in your presentation, in the future presentation. So first way is problem solution. So you identify the problem and then you provide a solution. For example, when you are giving a topic or when you're giving like a case study, usually there is a problem and then you provide a solution. That is one way to structure your speech. Another way is argumentative. Explain your argumentation points. This usually happens with debate. You will be given a notion or a debate topic, and then you explain your argumentation point. Point number 1 is this, point number 2 is this, point number 3 is this. And this can also, recently I heard from my friend that her kids is starting to be a little bit more argumentative because the kids started to say, "Mom, this is the reason why you should give me more pocket money. I need to buy a book. I want to do this and I need to do that." So I'm like, wow, it's amazing. So it can be used in many different ways. Third way is pro and cons. Pro and cons means that from one topic, you evaluate the pros and you evaluate the cons. For example, the topic of global warming. What is the pros of global warming, if any, and what is the cons? Or you can also use a topic of, for example, let me see what's happened recently. Oh, what do you call it? A balance between work and life balance. What is the pros, or what are the pros and what are the cons? Because it's not always relevant to all audience. For comparative, you compare two or more point of views. So for example, there is, again, borrowing the example of global warming, there is like many different views of global warming, or many different views, because I work in, let's use a different example. I work in fashion industry, right? So there are many point of views of fashion. Some said fashion is bad, some say fashion is good, some say fashion is a great economic generation tool. Another point of view said that it is actually really destructive for environment, or people who work on it did not get compensated properly. So there are so many different point of view, and you can use comparative structure to compare two or more point of view. Causal means if this, then that. So it's like if this happens, then this will happen. The easiest way to understand this is if you eat a lot of sugars, then it will be bad for your health. So things like that. Last but not least is the chronological way. Having said chronological, it doesn't have to always follow a certain timeline. Usually what happens is from past, present to future, but sometimes the chronological way can also be structured into like, this is what happened in the past and what we can learn now. Or this is what happened now, and let's look back on what happened in the past so we can anticipate for the future. So you can play around with that, but it usually follow a certain timeline, or you just do a little bit tweak here and there to fit your topic and to fit your point of view. Now for speech outline and structure, I think everyone here is quite familiar. We always start with opening, and then we have body, or like the main points, and we have the closing. So in opening, don't forget to introduce the topic and speech purpose. What I notice is sometimes the speaker, or people, they're focusing more on just saying things without any clear direction where they want to go. So introducing the topic and speech purpose is like giving a clear direction to your audience where we will go in this topic or in this speech presentation. And the benefit of opening is also to grab the audience attention. I think recent research in public speaking said that if you cannot grab your audience in the first 10 seconds, you will lose them, especially with the online environment. So many different distractions. So you want to make sure that your audience is hooked on you right from the beginning, and keep the attention all the way to the end. Next in the body is you need to list the main points and then do a little bit more elaboration. What I wanted to emphasize here is in the body, a lot of people try to put a long laundry list. Okay, my point is this. Wow, I have 7 points. It is not the most important. For me personally, I believe that if you use 3 points maximum for your body or for the content that you wanted to present, it's gonna be easier for the audience to understand and to retain. In fact, I read somewhere, I forgot the source, but I read somewhere that research shown that people who are dealing or who are learning 3 main points that has full elaboration, they have a better retention and understanding compared to people who learn 5 or more points with little elaboration. Don't forget to elaborate with supporting material, facts, and examples. You can use books, you can use newspapers, magazine, statistic. Recently, podcast is quite popular, so you can use also podcasts from established speakers, or you can also use biography or quotes from famous speaker. So remember, in the body, make sure that the main point, 3 maximum, the most important thing is the elaboration, the explanation, the examples, because that's what makes it sticks to your audience mind. And last, at the closing, don't forget to summarize the topic and also the speech purpose. What is one message that you want the audience to take away? I share this because usually what happens is people, after they say this, thank you. And then we as the audience was like, oh, it's finished. What did he say again? I forgot. The last thing that you share to your audience lasts in your audience mind. And if it applies, you can add call to action. What does call to action means? Call to action means you encourage them to do something. For example, I hope after my presentation today, you will have more interest in exploring public speaking and also speech creation. And I hope that you gain a little bit more confidence in your public speaking practice. So that's an example of call to action. And this is Natalie's tips for your speech opening and closing, especially if you're in for competition. So with the opening, generally in public speaking contests, we don't really need to say thank you. It really depends on the institution, but the international contest that I've been, we don't really need to say thank you. We just go straight to the opening to grab the audience attention. So you can ask a thought-provoking question such as, what if you die today? Oh my gosh, right? So it immediately grabbed the audience attention. Also, you can use a statement or relevant quote. For example, keep on learning because life never stops teaching. Those are the quote or the questions that you can use to open your speech, open your presentation to grab the audience attention. And remember, do not say sorry about yourself. This is a rookie mistake that I also find out. I made it in the past as well, because when I started my presentation, I said, I'm sorry, I'm not that expert or that experienced on this. And after that speech presentation, a friend of mine came to me and he said, look, Natalie, the MC has introduced you wonderfully. Why you said sorry about yourself? It really, lower my expectation and lower my anticipation. Never say sorry about yourself because they invited you because they believe in you. So I'm like, that's right. Never say sorry about yourself because what you can do is the best that you can do for now. And for closing, remember debate, RL, right? So always link back to the opening. For example, if you use the question, use that question again. If you use the quote, use that quote again. And then you can also do the memorable message or quote or add call to action. So the closing needs to link back to the opening for the speech to come full circle. In a speech contest, generally saying thank you is not needed. So at the end, leave it with a bang. Now, third is the delivery. The delivery I split into 3 as well: body language, vocal variety, and confidence. First up is body language. Why is body language important? I wish we can have this interaction. But yeah, let's just take a look at this poster. It is what you don't say that counts. Learn how to read and influence people through nonverbal communication. There is like one recent research from a doctor that found out that 7% of content when you deliver in a public speaking was conveyed to the audience. 38% of the speech value or message delivered through vocal variety, and 55% of it through body language. So body language is important also to help cement your message and what you want to say to your audience. When you have such a wonderful content, because on the first part we have learned about making content, right? But when your body language didn't reflect that wonderful content, the retention of your audience dropped down significantly. So for example, this is like a close of body language. It shows that they're pretty defensive. They don't really want to learn. Or, when people do this, it's quite disheartening because it's either they cannot see or they're confused, or like this, like very, like strong expressions, and just like this lady over here. Am I interested in it or not? We don't know. So there are 4 elements of body language that we need to pay attention to when we deliver our speech or our presentation. The first one is the facial expression, and this is the easiest one for us to look at, right? We can just immediately tell if the person is really interested or disinterested, whether a person is angry or just have no idea, or whether that person is happy. So you can match your facial expression with the content that you want to deliver. For example, if your content is about, let's say you're selling a product, the facial expression needs to be enthusiastic, full of energy. Otherwise, how can you sell a product? So that's just like one of the way where body language is also important. Sometimes when you do lectures also, it's very important to manage a neutral and approachable facial expression, because sometimes when you are too tense, the audience got tense too. So this is what I also learned through experience, because I made these mistakes in the past. The second thing is the eye contact. Eye contact in offline and online is totally different. In online, like now, I cannot really see you because of the technical things, right? I can only see my camera, and I hope that we've connected somehow through the wires. But when you meet face to face, the eye contact really matters, because when you want to build connection with your audience through your delivery, people can see and people can feel if you're genuine or if you're interested or not. For example, compare a speaker who speaks while looking down, blah, 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 and a speaker who speaks while looking at the audience. Which one would you feel more connected with you? The one who look at the audience. There is one tips for eye contact with your audience offline or in person, is you don't have to look at their eyes, exactly their eyes. You can just look at, this part of the body. So it seems like you're looking at them, but you don't really need to look at them. Why I said that? Because when we're speaking in front of public, usually people are sitting down or standing, and there's so many people in one room, right? Maybe 10, 20. Maybe it's not possible to really have an eye contact one person to one person. But what we can do is we can try to stop at one point in the room, speak with them, look at them for, let's say, a minute or more than that on one point that you're trying to elaborate. And then you move your eye contact to the next part of the room, and then elaborate the next point, and then you do that to the next point, to another part of the room as well. This technique is called scan and stop. So you can scan the whole thing, and then you stop and pay attention. I found out this is quite effective to make sure that the audience feel you're really looking at them and you're including them. Another body language technique is gestures. In online, this is very important because most of us, when we do lectures or when we do learning now, we sit down. Unless it's in a speech competition like what I did, we're expected to stand up so we can utilize the whole body language and the whole online stage properly. But usually what we do is we sit down and we listen to lectures or listen to presentation, or when we speak like this. So gestures is important to illustrate our points and also to keep the presentation more dynamic. For me personally, I'm quite big on gestures. So my challenge is actually to use just enough gestures so that it's not distracting. For other people, their challenge is to use more gestures so they're not as static as they thought they are. Because some people, they're just like very static, didn't really use enough gestures to add dynamism to the speech. Easiest gesture that you can use is the numbering. So number 1, number 2, number 3, and no, yes. Those are like the easiest gestures that you can use. Heart, emotional connection, think, logic. It's not that hard if you think about it, and you can always sprinkle a little gestures in your speech presentation just so it makes it more dynamic. Last in body language is the movement, and movement here, again, not so much on the online, but more on the offline or in person. Imagine if you're standing on a stage and you're just staying on one particular spot and not really moving anywhere. Sometimes it is what is expected when, for example, when they provide you with a lectern and you just need to stand behind the lectern. But in a contest or generally in a more dynamic talk show or presentation, you can use the whole stage. So you can move throughout the stage. Make sure you don't just root it on one spot. And that also, when you move, it also helps you to connect with the audience. Because imagine if this is the stage and you are here and your audience is here, probably the audience in the middle will feel more connected with you. But if you move to the left, if you move to the right, then it's balanced. So that's for body language. The next one is vocal variety. Why is vocal variety important? Because monotony is boring. I remember I listened to a speaker. I forgot who, but it was in YouTube. And I found out that her monotonous tone put me to sleep after a minute or two. And I couldn't really retain what she wanted to share in her presentation. So vocal variety is important to make your presentation engaging, to help you also to deliver your point to your audience. There are 3 elements of vocal variety. So we have volume, pause, and pacing. Volume is the loudness or the how loud is your voice. Remember, the most important thing in volume is for your voice to be audible. It doesn't have to be loud all the time because it will tire your audience. And sometimes it can be interpreted as offensive. Also, if your natural voice is pretty soft, make sure that you tune it up a little bit just so it can be audible. Because no matter how good your content is, if the audience cannot listen to it, cannot hear it, then it doesn't mean a thing. So volume is you play with the volume of your voice. Sometimes you need to tune it up, make it a little bit louder. Sometimes you need to make it a little bit softer or quieter. Depends on the topic and depends on the part of the speech that you're trying to present. The second thing is pacing. And this is what I think a lot of people are struggling as well, especially if you're a debater. With debate, we try to say as many things as we can. Just talk very fast, very fast, very fast. But talking fast doesn't mean that the audience understand. So I found out that the pacing of people who speak really fast range between 150 words to maybe 200 words per minute. So it means that when you write it down in Microsoft Word and you see 1,000 words, you speak it in about like 5 minutes. But the normal, more easily to understand speech pacing will be about 120 to 130, sometimes 100 to 130, depending on the person. So, for example, with 1,000 words, you will speak it in about 7 to 8 or 9 minutes. It really depends on the person, really depends on the culture as well, because I notice Indian people tend to speak a bit faster. Same with like Australian, but Indonesian and certain British people, they tend to speak a bit slower. So it really depends. The most important thing is you need to make sure your pacing is at the level where people can still understand what you're trying to say. And last but not least is the pause. Pause is very important because when you pause, you add emphasis that the point that you're trying to say is important. You can also use pauses to grab the audience attention. For example, when you pause before you begin your speech or your presentation, just pause and let it sink. When you want to emphasize something, you can pause before and after that certain point. So for example, when you want to say, I believe that public speaking is a skill and not a talent. So you can add the pause just to emphasize your point. So vocal variety is important because it adds an element of engagement. It also helps emphasize what you're trying to say to your audience, and it also helps the audience to understand what you're trying to say or your message even better. Last but not least is the confidence. And for this, if you feel like you are not confident enough, or if you feel like, but ma'am, I don't know how to grow my confidence, this is your comfort zone. And those are the zones where magic happens. So all I can say is growing up or experiencing personal growth is never comfortable, always uncomfortable, because magic happens outside of your comfort zone. But what's more important for you to build your confidence is you need to have a supporting community. And in this sense, I think your university, your lecturers, all of the people here, you already have a great supporting community where you can blossom and where you can get the nutrition or the encouragement that you need to develop your confidence. One book that I read, Talk Like That, by Carmen Gallo, mentioned that the recipe for audience engagement is passion. So even if your technique is not there, even if you feel like I'm still lacking here, but if you speak from your heart and you speak with passion, it is the best way that you can deliver your presentation. So remember, when everything fails, speak with passion. And last but not least, confidence can only come by practice, practice, and practice. And that's why one of my motto that I believe is progress over perfection, because perfection is God's. We as a human, we can only progress. So wherever your confidence level right now, you can grow it by having a supportive community, by believing in yourself and speak with passion, and by practicing, because public speaking is a skill and not a talent. And that's where your confidence will grow. Okay, I'm already over time, so you can watch this video later on at home. This is Steve Jobs Stanford commencement address. So you can just Google Steve Jobs Stanford in YouTube, and then you can watch the whole thing. It is one of my favorite videos. Last but not least, I wanted to know, what have you learned today? And we can start the question and answer after. So thank you for your attention, and I hope this is beneficial.
if anyone wants, thank you, Coach Natali, for your wonderful speech. It really helped me a lot personally. So, I am sure that there are students who wants to ask some question, but before that, I would like you to please give your feedbacks that what you have learned basically. So, if anyone, I can see Pooja. Pooja, can you just tell me a point that what have you learned today?
Yeah.